watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The Buckon Tower substructure at Angkor Wat rises 30 meters to support the 5 surrounding towers and give the temple complex its iconic outline. Currently, archaeologists and their hardworking technical team are repairing the Buckon southwest platform and reinforcing it with more modern materials so it can continue its vital support role. The Stone Conservation Officer of the Apsara National Authority, Ro Sovandarot, detailed the work that consists of restoring stones to their original positions, sealing the reconstructed layers from water leakage, and reinforcing the foundation with stainless steel. He said that implementing about 20 stainless steel poles throughout 4 layers will help to stabilize the stones above, adding to the structure's longevity. The tower has been severely damaged over the centuries by shifting stones and the wear and tear of age that erodes them. Rainwater is a major issue as it leaks through the stones and damages the foundation, causing further damage to the structure's integrity. The conservation team is sure to seal the stones once they are replaced or repaired to ensure minimal water damage in the future. The Apsara National Authority's conservation efforts have achieved great results for one of the most important archaeological sites in Southeast Asia. In 2004, the property was removed from the World Heritage in Danger list, and their work continues to preserve Khmer cultural history while learning more about it every year. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The Cambodian Red Cross successfully concluded the 2023 Southeast Asia Red Cross Red Crescent Leaders Meeting on Friday and passed the baton to Indonesia, who will be hosting next year's meeting. President of the Cambodian Red Cross, former First Lady Bun Rani, handed the transfer letter to Secretary General of the Indonesian Red Cross, Abdurrahman Mohammed, who thanked her and affirmed that his country was ready to chair the meeting next year. Bun Rani said that the 2-day meeting highlighted the importance of focusing on climate change and carbon neutrality through the Green Development Plan and regional solidarity. She congratulated the Indonesian Red Crescent on the next opportunity to chair next year's meeting. The Southeast Asia Red Cross Red Crescent Leaders Meeting is an annual meeting that brings together RCRC leaders from the region to discuss and decide on issues of interest to the program's humanitarian goals. The meeting ended on Friday with the issuance of the Phnom Penh Declaration, signed by all members. Bun Rani said that the statement was a testament to the region's efforts to devise new solutions to meet challenges, achieve bigger positive results, and be ready to respond to disasters, which are now more frequent and serious than ever, by working together to build resilient and inclusive communities. This is the 3rd time that Cambodia has chaired the large charity meeting after 2007 and 2015. This year's meeting saw historical success in establishing a relationship between the Southeast Asia RCRC and ASEAN Secretary General Kao Kim Hoon, with the goal of cooperating on shared goals. Deputy Secretary General of the Cambodian Red Cross, Mai Nyere Sopiak, held a press conference on Friday where she lauded Cambodia's initiative in inviting the ASEAN leader to this year's meeting, saying that his keynote speech and attendance showed a mutual cooperation and understanding of the importance of working together. Representatives and youth members from 11 countries convened in Phnom Penh from September 21st through 22nd. RCRC President Bun Rani thanked all the attendees and the ASEAN Secretary General and his colleagues for enriching the event and highlighting humanitarian efforts in Southeast Asia. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Farmers in Bantier Meanchai's Mongol Borai district are pleased to see this year's rice prices increase, especially since this year's yield has decreased. One farmer living in Chamnon commune said that this year he cultivated 7 hectares of fragrant rice, yielding about 3.5 tons per hectare this year due to lack of water in the dry months. This is the 3rd harvest that is sold for about $278 a ton. Meanwhile, another farmer, Chan Kun, said that she was happy because the price of rice this year is higher than last year, although the yield is lower than last year. She also called for better infrastructure, especially roads, to facilitate crop transportation.
សម្រាប់តម្លៃនៅឆ្នាំនេះគឺថាល្អប្រសើរជាងឆ្នាំមុនចាសម្រាប់ខ្ញុំគឺសំណូមពរចាសម្រាប់តម្លៃស្រូវចាសូមឲ្យកុំទាបជាងនឹងចាអាចតម្លៃត្រឹមនឹងឬក៏អាចលើជាងនឹង
Rice trader Lee Vanna said that he buys fragrant rice for about 1,200 riel per kilo. Meanwhile, type 54 rice, an early maturing high-yield rice variety, goes for about 1,115 riel per kilo.
ក្នុងមួយថ្ងៃខ្ញុំអាចប្រមូលនៅក្នុងទឹកដីឃុំចំណោមនេះពី6ទៅ7ឡានក្នុង1ឡាន40តោនបើយើងគិតពីឆ្នាំតមិញរហូតដល់ឆ្នាំនេះបើយើងគិតដល់ពេលបច្ចុប្បន្នដូចជាឆ្នាំនេះចង់ល្អជាងឆ្នាំតមិញផងពីព្រោះឆ្នាំតមិញដល់រដូវនេះគឺអត់ដល់10បាតទេ
Commune Chief Kun Kwon said that farmers planted about 975 hectares of dryland rice and that they were able to harvest about 60 to 65% of it. Most farmers in the commune prefer to use 54 varieties and fragrant rices, and this year's yield is between 3.5 to 4 tons per hectare. Deputy Governor Klok Noi said that while the price of rice is higher this year, some farmers are complaining that prices are actually lower. He responded that some farmers are harvesting their rice too early, producing a lower quality that fetches lower prices. He said that for good, ripe rice, the price is still high. The royal government's economic Pentagon strategy includes boosting the agricultural economy through establishing rural farmers associations, financing programs to boost production, and maintaining agricultural prices at a reasonable level. Farmers in Bantia Mienche province, who have benefited from the new policy program, are satisfied and announced their support for the new government.
រដ្ឋាភិបាលថ្មីនេះគឺល្អត្រឹមត្រូវគិតជួយកសិករបើខ្ញុំតាមដានមកគិតជួយកសិករឲ្យមានតម្លៃស្រូវខ្ពស់ហើយជួយកសិករឲ្យមានប្រព័ន្ធធារាសាស្ត្រជួយជីកព្រែកជីកបន្លាយដើម្បីឲ្យកសិករមានធ្វើស្រែឲ្យបាន2ដងបាទនេះរដ្ឋាភិបាលថ្មីនេះបាទខ្ញុំជូនពរដល់រដ្ឋាភិបាលនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីបាទដែលជប់អាណត្តិថ្មីនេះអាណត្តិទី7នេះសូមនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីប្រឹងប្រែងដែលនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក្មេងខ្ចីដើម្បីជួយប្រឹងប្រែងដើម្បីឲ្យកសិករមានតម្លៃខ្ពស់ហើយមានប្រព័ន្ធប្រឡាយធ្វើស្រែគឺកសិករដឹងថាអាណត្តិទី8រដ្ឋាភិបាលអាចជប់តមុខទៀតបាទ
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Minister of Tourism, Sok Soken, gave a keynote address today at the American Chamber of Commerce event entitled, Where is Cambodia's Tourism Industry Heading? There, he proposed his ministry's amended strategy to revitalize Cambodian tourism to its pre-COVID performance and beyond. The minister proposed a new 5-point strategy entitled Build, which focuses on brand management, unique selling points marketing, inbound design quality travel, leveraging the diversification of tourism products, and developing competitive tourism sites. In short, the strategy aims to bring Cambodia's tourism prestige up to international standards, while also promoting the kingdom's unique qualities that make it a must-see travel destination. To achieve this strategy, the ministry recognizes the need for many players to collaborate towards their vision, and to that end, it will employ what it calls the 3 Ds: designing institutional structure, digital transformation, and developing capability. The 3 Ds are meant to include a wide range of ministries, institutions, private businesses, and other relevant stakeholders in sharing responsibility for developing Cambodia's tourism sector through digitalization, streamlined guidelines, and efficient training of human resources within the tourism sector. In creating a Cambodia that is a competitive, sustainable, and inclusive destination, the ministry's ultimate goal is to contribute to Cambodia's prestige and resilience through positioning Cambodia as a leading global destination enshrined with rich diversity, boundless opportunities, and genuine compassion. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The Ministry of Cults and Religions advised members of the public to refrain from exploiting Buddhism for business, including placing the Buddha in inappropriate settings to attract attention and misappropriating monks' robes. In a circular sent out yesterday, the ministry included acts like preaching, teaching the Dharma or Buddhist universal truth, or spreading the wrong Dharma, which it called an act of deception. The ministry also forbids the arbitrary use of Buddhist monks' robes, flags, or statues to deceive the public or to impersonate the Buddha and to be used as a joke. Minister of Cults and Religions, Chai Borin, said that the activities of extremist religious beliefs and practices have seriously undermined the transparency of Buddhism, public order, and national security by disrespecting Khmer social order, traditions, and individual rights to religious beliefs. He added that such activities have led to violence, inappropriate behavior, discrimination, and lies. His statement noted that moving forward, all previous listed offenses are forbidden in the spirit of cultivating morality, virtue, and obedience to Buddhism. He added that it is forbidden to use the Buddha's message to make jokes, produce raps, or insult his worship. He warned businesses against using the Buddha or Buddhist symbols in inappropriate places to gain attention, such as bars, bathrooms, and shoes. Kristen Winters, EAC News.
រាជបណ្ឌិតសភាកម្ពុជាប្រកាសដាក់ឲ្យប្រើប្រាស់ជាផ្លូវការនៅវចនានុក្រមខ្មែររាជបណ្ឌិតសភាកម្ពុជានាព្រឹកថ្ងៃទី25ខែកញ្ញាឆ្នាំ2023បានប្រកាសដាក់ឲ្យប្រើប្រាស់ជាផ្លូវការនៅវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរឆ្នាំ2022បោះពុម្ពជាសៀវភៅនិងជាទម្រង់ Digital ក្រោមអធិបតេយ្យភាពឧបនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីប្រចាំការរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីទទួលបន្ទុកទីស្តីការគណៈរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីលោកវង្សសីវិសុទ្ធប្រធានក្រុមប្រឹក្សាជាតិភាសាខ្មែរនៃរាជបណ្ឌិតសភាកម្ពុជាលោកហ៊ានសុខុមបានបញ្ជាក់ឲ្យដឹងថាក្រុមប្រឹក្សាជាតិភាសាខ្មែរបានប្រើរយៈពេល5ឆ្នាំក្នុងការរៀបរៀងជាវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរដោយសមាជិកគណៈកម្មការចំនួន65អង្គនិងអ្នកដែលជាបញ្ញវន្តគ្រប់វ័យបទិចារនិងព្រះសង្ឃដែលមានជំនាញភាសាវិទ្យាអក្សរសាស្ត្រប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រសេដ្ឋកិច្ចជាដើមក្នុងវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរនេះមានពាក្យសរុបចំនួន 44,677 ក្នុងនោះដាក់ជាមេពាក្យមានចំនួន 30,073 ពាក្យហើយនេះជាការបោះពុម្ពជាលើកទី5ហើយដោយគិតចាប់ពីឆ្នាំ1967រហូតដល់ឆ្នាំ2022ខណៈក្នុងវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរសម្ដេចព្រះសង្ឃរាជជួនណាតមានពាក្យសរុបជាង 18,000 ពាក្យលោកគូបញ្ជាក់ថាពាក្យក្នុងវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរដែលបោះពុម្ពដោយរាជបណ្ឌិតសភានេះគឺដាក់បញ្ចូលទាំងពាក្យប្រើប្រាស់ក្នុងវិស័យច្បាប់វិស័យរដ្ឋបាលវិស័យវិទ្យាសាស្ត្រនិងពាក្យដែលពលរដ្ឋនិយមប្រើប្រាស់ក៏បានដាក់បញ្ចូលនៅក្នុងវចនានុក្រមនោះផងដែរលោកថ្លែងថាការរៀបចំធ្វើបច្ចុប្បន្នកម្មវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរត្រូវធ្វើជាបន្តបន្ទាប់គ្មានទីបញ្ចប់ដើម្បីឆ្លើយតបទៅនឹងតម្រូវការរបស់អ្នកប្រើប្រាស់ភាសាខ្មែរនិងដើម្បីស្របតាមស្ថានភាពនៃការរីកចម្រើនរបស់សង្គមខ្មែរនិងពិភពលោកជាពិសេសក្នុងវិស័យសេដ្ឋកិច្ចវិទ្យាសាស្ត្រព័ត៌មានវិទ្យានិងបរិបទសកលភាវូបនីយកម្មនេះផងដែរប្រធានក្រុមប្រឹក្សាជាតិភាសាខ្មែរបានអះអាងថាក្រុមប្រឹក្សាជាតិភាសាខ្មែរនឹងបន្តបេសកកម្មរបស់ខ្លួនដោយពន្លឿនការអនុម័តពីឲ្យទាន់ការវិវត្តផ្នែកសេដ្ឋកិច្ចនិងបច្ចេកវិទ្យាព្រមទាំងបន្តធ្វើ Digital នីយកម្មភាសាខ្មែរឲ្យកាន់តែប្រសើរឡើងបន្ថែមទៀតប្រធានរាជបណ្ឌិតសភាកម្ពុជាលោកសុកទួចបានថ្លែងឲ្យដឹងថាវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរបោះពុម្ពជាសៀវភៅនិងជា app នេះនឹងផ្ដល់ភាពងាយស្រួលដល់សាធារណជនប្រើប្រាស់ភាសាខ្មែរប្រកបដោយភាពត្រឹមត្រូវបើតាមលោកសុកទួចក្រុមប្រឹក្សាជាតិភាសាខ្មែរបានអនុម័តពាក្យរួចរាល់មានចំនួន 2,485 ពាក្យនិងនៅសល់ពាក្យចំនួន 14,313 ពាក្យទៀតនិងកំពុងបន្តពិនិត្យអនុម័តក្រុមប្រឹក្សាជាតិភាសាខ្មែរបានពិនិត្យសម្រេចពាក្យដែលស្នើពីស្ថាប័ននានាមានចំនួន92ពាក្យ ឧបនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីប្រចាំការរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីទទួលបន្ទុកទីស្តីការគណៈរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីលោកវង្សសីវិសុទ្ធបានកោតសរសើរដល់រាជមន្ត្រីសភានិងអ្នកពាក់ព័ន្ធផ្សេងៗទៀតដែលបានខិតខំរៀបចំវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរនេះប្រកបដោយជោគជ័យបើទោះបីជារយៈពេល5ឆ្នាំកន្លងទៅនេះប្រឈមបញ្ហាមួយចំនួនក្តីលោកវង្សសីវិសុទ្ធបានលើកឡើងថាវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរនេះគឺរៀបចំឡើងសម្រាប់ជំរុញឲ្យមានការប្រើប្រាស់ភាសាខ្មែរឲ្យមានភាពឯកភាពគ្នានិងជាប្រភពសម្រាប់ទ្រទ្រង់ដ៏ចាំបាច់ក្នុងការអប់រំការសិក្សាការស្រាវជ្រាវការងាររដ្ឋបាលទំនាក់ទំនងក្នុងគ្រប់ស្ថាប័នទាំងក្នុងវិស័យរដ្ឋនិងឯកជនឲ្យកាន់តែមានភាពងាយស្រួលនិងប្រសិទ្ធភាពខ្ពស់លោកថ្លែងថាការរៀបចំវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរជាទម្រង់ Digital នេះដែលអាចប្រើប្រាស់បាននៅក្នុងទូរស័ព្ទដៃនិងកុំព្យូទ័រជាមធ្យោបាយងាយស្រួលសម្រាប់សាធារណជនក្នុងការស្វែងរកពាក្យពេចន៍និងផ្ទៀងផ្ទាត់អក្ខរាវិរុទ្ធដែលអាចប្រើប្រាស់បាននៅគ្រប់ពេលវេលានិងគ្រប់ទីកន្លែងបានយ៉ាងឆាប់រហ័សលោកវង្សសីវិសុទ្ធបានជំរុញឲ្យគ្រឹះស្ថានសិក្សាក្រសួងស្ថាប័នផ្សេងៗនិងសាធារណជនចូលរួមប្រើប្រាស់វចនានុក្រមខ្មែរដែលទើបតែបោះពុម្ពថ្មីនេះដើម្បីលើកកម្ពស់ការប្រើប្រាស់ភាសាខ្មែរប្រកបដោយភាពត្រឹមត្រូវនិងចូលរួមអភិរក្សនិងអភិវឌ្ឍភាសាខ្មែរឲ្យកាន់តែរីកចម្រើនបន្តទៀតជាមួយគ្នានេះលោកលើកទឹកចិត្តឲ្យដៃគូអភិវឌ្ឍនិងវិស័យឯកជនចូលរួមផ្ដល់ការគាំទ្រទាំងស្មារតីសម្ភារៈហិរញ្ញប្បទាននិងហិរញ្ញវត្ថុក្នុងការបន្តការអភិវឌ្ឍវចនានុក្រមខ្មែរជាពិសេសការគាំទ្រការធ្វើទំនើបកម្ម Digital
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The National Assembly is in the process of revising civil aviation laws, which are nearly 30 years old, as Cambodia's infrastructure expands to include more domestic and international airports. This morning, the Standing Committee sent a draft law on the updates to an expert committee for further discussion. The Standing Committee meeting was presided over by National Assembly President Kwan Sotari, who examined and approved the law, although no details about its amendments were disclosed, but 2 expert committees were tasked with studying land clearance, urban planning, and construction of civil aviation facilities. The draft law was approved by the Council of Ministers on September 20th, before being sent to the National Assembly for approval. Its 11 articles are meant to update and replace the establishment of the Secretariat of State for Civil Aviation, issued in 1996, to address the evolving state of civil aviation technology and to meet the additional requirements of the UN's International Civil Aviation Organization. Cambodia currently has 3 international airports that host commercial airlines, in addition to over a dozen regional airports. The highly anticipated Siem Reap Angkor International Airport is slated to open next month. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The 19th Asian Games kicked off in Hangzhou, China on Saturday, with a mesmerizing high-tech opening ceremony that welcomed athletes from 45 countries and regions to compete in the second-largest sporting event behind the Olympics. King Norodom Sihamoni, who has been in China for nearly a month now, attended the opening ceremony alongside other international dignitaries. In attendance at the Games this year are 114 Cambodian athletes, with the opportunity to compete internationally and mingle with some of the world's top athletes, with the multi-sport event gathering over 12,000 athletes from 45 countries and regions, from Hong Kong to Iran to Indonesia. A total of 40 sports will be played, 9 of which will serve as Olympic qualifiers for the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Cambodia is making its 13th appearance at the Games, which started in 1951. In the last edition of the Asian Games in Indonesia in 2018, Cambodia bagged 2 gold and 1 bronze medals. This year, Cambodian athletes are competing in 17 sports, including volleyball, fencing, martial arts, and dragon boat racing. The Games run from September 23rd to October 8th, and currently in the lead for medal tallies are China, South Korea, and Japan. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The larger-than-life image of Prime Minister Hun Manet appeared on multiple digital billboards in the largest city in the U.S. over the weekend, sparking online debate about who paid for the ads. The ads were credited on the billboards to the Cambodian People's Party chapter of San Francisco, California. People then took to the internet to complain about the billboard's costs to the Cambodian taxpayer, as just one day for one billboard in Times Square can run anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000. According to a statement from the Prime Minister's office today, the royal government did not spend any money on the billboards, but rather they were a celebratory gesture from his supporters living abroad. A spokesperson for Prime Minister Hun Man said that congratulatory banners posted in Times Square to welcome the PM to the UN General Assembly were paid for with the love and support of Cambodians living in the United States and Canada, and not by the royal government. On social media, Prime Minister Hun Man thanked someone named David Sot, who he credited for arranging and purchasing the billboards without any interference on the government's behalf, saying that the gesture was a kindness to both himself and the royal government. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Following a 20-hour journey, Prime Minister Hun Man and First Lady Pic Chan Moni safely arrived in New York with a delegation of Cambodian officials this morning. The couple was welcomed at the airport by Permanent Representative of Cambodia to the United Nations, Sophia Iet. Having landed at Newark Airport, the couple headed to their hotel where they were warmly greeted by CPP supporters living in the U.S. and Canada. The Prime Minister has brought a delegation, including his foreign minister and minister attached, to attend the 78th UN General Assembly and give a speech at the event. The purpose of the UNGA is to bring countries from all over the world together to discuss and solve global issues. According to the U.S. Department of State, quote, working with a broad range of countries, including those which we sometimes disagree with, is critical to tackling global challenges and delivering on issues that matter to the United States, developing countries, and the whole world, end quote. While the UNGA ends on September 22nd, Prime Minister Hun Man and his delegation will be in the U.S. until September 25th to meet with international officials, U.S. business people, including the marketing director for pharmaceutical company Pfizer, the UN Secretary General, and the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State. This is the first time the Prime Minister is attending the UN as Cambodia's leader, and the visit is a vital piece in establishing his legitimacy on the international stage. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The retail prices of gasoline and diesel have increased by 150 riel per liter in the last 10 days. Although prices have gone up, Cambodians still pay below the global average for gas. From September 21st through 30th, the price of gas per liter stands at 4,750 riel, or about $1.16, while diesel costs around 4,850 riel, or about $1.18. Cambodian gas prices remain below the global average, which has been about $1.79 per liter since June, according to the Global Petrol Prices website. The Cambodian government currently subsidizes 287 riel, or about 6.5 cents per liter, to manage consumer prices. Cambodia primarily imports all of its petroleum from countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. This year, imports are down 9.5%, despite growing consumer demand. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Former Prime Minister Hun Man sent a message to Cambodian People's Party supporters who are expected to meet with his son during his first trip to the U.S. as Cambodia's Prime Minister. Prime Minister Hun Man will be in the U.S. from September 21st through 25th, where he will attend the UN General Assembly and meet with Cambodians living abroad. In a telegram message, former Prime Minister Hun Man sent a message to supportive Cambodians living abroad, conveying his regards and excusing his absence as his son takes his place. While some Cambodians living abroad have expressed excitement over the new Prime Minister's visit, others are less enthused about the results of July's elections and are openly speaking against them. The former Prime Minister went on to note that his political opponents were wrong in saying he would not give up his position, emphasizing that he had now been father of the Prime Minister for a month, and that the, quote, burden of responsibility has been passed on to the next generation. Hun Man seems pleased with his son's performance as Cambodia's first new Prime Minister in over 38 years, and has publicly expressed surprise about Hun Manet's success in his first month as Prime Minister, where he has already met with all of his Southeast Asian counterparts and now heads to the U.S. to cement his legitimacy on the international stage. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Cambodia is hosting the 20th Southeast Asia Red Cross and Red Crescent Leaders Meeting this week to discuss global topics related to humanitarian aid, particularly climate change. Former First Lady Bun Rani chaired the meeting and called for delegations to come to an agreement on the organization's 2-year-old climate charter. Speaking at a press conference yesterday afternoon, Deputy Secretary General of the Cambodian Red Cross, Manet Sopiak, said that Bun Rani, who is president of the organization, gave speeches and recommendations to address climate change earlier that day as she opened the meeting. President Bun Rani requested a discussion on the climate charter, which was issued in 2021. She proposed that the topic be a priority for the meeting. The president also accepted the proposals of the RCRC Youth Forum, which has its second ASEAN gathering this year. In her opening remarks, she encouraged Southeast Asian RCRC societies to seek cooperation to push for policies that build the capacity of their executive teams, strengthen the participation of relevant partners, and build youth development skills and networking opportunities, all with the goal of creating a planet with fresh air and a clean environment. The Southeast Asia Red Cross and Red Crescent Leaders Meeting brings together humanitarian leaders of the region to discuss and address matters of shared interest. The meeting will end today with the release of the Phnom Penh Declaration, supported by all delegations. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister Hun Man departed for the U.S. this morning to attend the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. While this is not the Prime Minister's first time in the U.S., having attended West Point Military Academy in the late 90s, this is his first trip to America as the leader of Cambodia. At around 8:20 a.m., the Prime Minister's plane departed with an official delegation, including Minister of Foreign Affairs Sokchenda Sopia and Minister attached to the Prime Minister Jean-Francois Ten, a former media mogul. The delegation is expected to meet with senior U.S. officials, business people, and his supporters from Cambodia diaspora who live in the U.S. and Canada. The Prime Minister is expected to make a speech on Cambodia's progress towards sustainable development goals and on the kingdom's commitment to maintaining peace and stability.
ក្រៅពីកម្មវិធីថ្លែងសន្ទរកថានៅក្នុងមហាសន្និបាតនេះសម្ដេចធិបតីនឹងមានជំនួបជាមួយអិសរាជជននិងតំណាងស្ថាប័នមួយចំនួនជាអាចជំនួបជាមួយឯកឧត្តម Antonio Guterres អគ្គលេខាធិការអង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិ
According to the spokesperson for the Prime Minister, Manet Sopon, the Prime Minister will be busy with many meetings around his speech to the General Assembly. Hun Man will also meet with Indian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Marketing Director of Pfizer, one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies, and officials from a number of other countries. He also intends to meet with U.S. business leaders to strengthen ties on trade between the two countries. Having only been in office for a month, this is a big opportunity for the new Prime Minister to cement his international approval after the U.S. released a statement following Cambodia's July elections, saying it would impose visa restrictions on those who, quote, undermine democracy. It appears Prime Minister Hun Man and his delegation are in the clear regarding such restrictions as they head to New York to attend one of the world's most respected institutional gatherings. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The newly appointed Council of Ministers met yesterday to approve a draft of the government's National Strategy on Informal Economic Development for 2023 to 28. Cambodia's informal economy, defined as businesses that are neither taxed nor monitored by any form of government, is the backbone of the national economy, and over 90% of those employed in the nation work within it. The draft law is stated in the royal government's much-publicized Pentagon strategy and accounts for the added pressures that COVID-19 and other global challenges have put on workers. The government says it is working to improve the lives of the people to achieve sustainable development, environment, and crisis resilience. The 5-year strategy aims to enhance and protect the productivity and resilience of the informal economy, as well as to promote and accelerate participation in the informal economy in order to ensure the resilience, predictability, and advancement of the national economy. The draft focuses on 5 priorities, including easier access to the informal system, reducing the burdens of registration compliance, providing social support to those who have entered the system, developing and strengthening skills, and expanding outreach and awareness on participation in the informal economy. The government says the new strategy is part of its broader No Cambodian Left Behind policy, which aims to include everyone as the kingdom works on achieving its sustainable development goals. It hopes the strategy will be a catalyst to encourage cooperation between ministries, institutions, the private sector, and NGOs to create a sustainable and resilient economy. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. China kicked off its second annual Global Public Security Forum yesterday under the theme of One World, Common Security. More than 500 law enforcement officials, experts, and scholars from some 50 countries and regions are attending the conference to exchange ideas on cross-border crime, counterterrorism, drug control, fugitive repatriation, and other issues. At the opening ceremony on Wednesday, Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Man sent a virtual address from Cambodia to wish the conference well and affirm Cambodia's commitment to strengthening security measures on a global and regional scale.
The royal government of Cambodia believes that together we can successfully mobilize comprehensive measures to resolve our common security concerns in order to foster peace, development, and prosperity for all nations.
Chinese police have provided law enforcement training and education to more than 20,000 police officers from law enforcement departments of 116 countries and have signed more than 400 government-to-government and department-to-department law enforcement cooperation agreements worldwide. Kristen Winters, EAC News.
Lương Bora ឬឈូកូគីត្រូវបានគេស្គាល់ក្នុងសម័យខ្មែរបុរាណថាជារាជធានីមួយដ៏សំខាន់នៅសតវត្សទី10នៃគ្រិស្តសករាជនៃអាណាចក្រខ្មែរក្នុងសម័យអង្គរពីសតវត្សទី9ដល់សតវត្សទី15នៃគ្រិស្តសករាជដែលស្ថិតនៅចម្ងាយប្រមាណ90គីឡូម៉ែត្រភាគឦសាននៃរាជធានីអង្គរតាមបណ្ដោយផ្លូវបុរាណដែលភ្ជាប់ពីអង្គរទៅកោះកេររហូតដល់វត្តភូភាគខាងត្បូងប្រទេសឡាវលឹងបុរាជាភាសាសំស្ក្រឹតប្រែថាបរិយលឹងចំណែកឯឈូកូគីជាភាសាខ្មែរប្រែថាស្រះកូគីដែលសពថ្ងៃហៅคล้ายទៅជាកោះកេររាជធានីនេះបានសាងសង់ឡើងក្នុងរាជព្រះបាទជ័យវរ្ម័នទី4ពីឆ្នាំ921នៃគ្រិស្តសករាជហើយព្រះអង្គបានឡើងគ្រងរាជ្យជាផ្លូវការពីឆ្នាំ928រហូតដល់ឆ្នាំ941នៃគ្រិស្តសករាជបន្ទាប់មកព្រះរាជបុត្រព្រះអង្គគឺព្រះបាទហសវរ្ម័នទី2បានឡើងគ្រងរាជ្យរយៈពេលខ្លីរហូតដល់ឆ្នាំ944នៃគ្រិស្តសករាជកោះកេរជារមណីយដ្ឋានឡោមព័ទ្ធដោយព្រៃដ៏ក្រាស់ដែលបន្សល់ទុកនៅសំណល់បុរាណវិទ្យាចំនួន169រួមមានប្រាសាទចំនួន76ហេដ្ឋារចនាសម្ព័ន្ធស៊ីវិលស្រះកាសិនទឹកនិងផ្លូវបុរាណរមណីយដ្ឋានបុរាណវិទ្យាកោះកេរត្រូវបានរៀបចំឡើងតាមប្រព័ន្ធខ្សែបន្ទាត់យ៉ាងល្អជុំវិញប្រាសាទធំនិងរហ័លដែលជាអាងស្តុកទឹកដ៏ធំកសាងដោយបុព្វបុរសសម័យនោះនៅខាងជើងខ្សែបន្ទាត់កណ្ដាលនៃរាជធានីគឺប្រាសាទធំដែលមានប្រាសាទប្រាង្គរាងពីរ៉ាមីតកម្ពស់35ម៉ែត្រដែលមានតែមួយគត់ក្នុងភូមិភាគអាស៊ីអាគ្នេយ៍ឧទ្ទិសដល់ព្រះឥសូរនៅផ្នែកអាគ្នេយ៍មានប្រាសាទបន្ទាយ2ជាន់ឧទ្ទិសដល់ព្រះព្រហ្មនិងប្រាសាទចិននៅទិសនិរតីឧទ្ទិសដល់ព្រះនារាយណ៍ទិដ្ឋភាពទាំងនេះបញ្ជាក់ពីការទទួលឥទ្ធិពលទស្សនៈសាសនាហិណ្ឌូទ្រីមុទីព្រះបាទជ័យវរ្ម័នទី4បានយកទស្សនៈវាស្តុសាស្ត្រានៃសាសនាហិណ្ឌូដើម្បីរៀបចំទីក្រុងរបស់ព្រះអង្គឲ្យក្លាយជាទីក្រុងពិសិដ្ឋលើផែនដីហើយបានបង្កើតរចនាបថសំណង់សិល្បៈនិងសិលាចារឹកដែលមានទំហំធំ ព្រមទាំងចម្លាក់ដែលមានចលនារស់រវើកពោលគឺអ្វីៗមានទំហំធំនិងមានចលនាជាងសិល្បៈកន្លងមកក្នុងប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រខ្មែរនេះគឺជាឧទាហរណ៍ចម្លាក់ដ៏ល្អអស្ចារ្យនៅតាមប្រាសាទទាំងឡាយដូចជាព្រះឥសូររំកម្ពស់ប្រមាណ6ម៉ែត្រនៅប្រាសាទក្រហមនិងការរកឃើញថ្មីៗនៅប្រាសាទចិនគឺចម្លាក់ដែលដកស្រង់ចេញពីរឿងមហាភារតៈត្រង់ឈុតប្រយុទ្ធគ្នារវាងទុរយោធនិងភីមព្រមទាំងចម្លាក់ដកស្រង់ចេញពីរឿងរាមកេរ្តិ៍ត្រង់ឈុតប្រយុទ្ធគ្នារវាងពាលីនិងសុគ្រីពនេះជាបដិមាសាស្ត្រដែលប្លែកពីគេដែលត្រូវគេសម្គាល់ថាជារចនាបថកោះកេរ្តិ៍
ដៃសិទ្ធិរហូតមកដល់ពេលនេះគឺគេរកឃើញសាលាចរិកចំនួន73ផ្ទាំងនៅតំបន់កោះកេរ្តិ៍នេះតាមព័ត៌មានសាលាចរិកគឺបានបញ្ជាក់ថាប្រហែលជាមានមនុស្សរស់នៅតំបន់កោះកេរ្តិ៍នេះជាង10000នាក់សាលាចរិកក៏បានបញ្ជាក់ផងដែរថាមានការថ្វាយដង្វាយរបស់ព្រះរាជាទៅដល់ប្រាសាទជាពិសេសសាលាចរិកប្រាសាទដំរីនៅខាងក្រោយខ្នងនេះគឺបានបញ្ជាក់ពីការកសាងលឹងដ៏ធំមួយឈ្មោះត្រីភូវនេស្វរៈដើម្បីតម្កល់នៅលើប្រាសាទប្រាង្គប្រាសាទធំហ្នឹងហើយប្រាសាទប្រាង្គហ្នឹងក៏មានសាលាចរិកជាភាសាសំស្ក្រឹតដែរដែលបញ្ជាក់ថាប្រាសាទប្រាង្គហ្នឹងគឺត្រូវបានព្រះបាទជ័យវរ្ម័នទី4ហ្នឹងចាប់ផ្ដើមកសាងឡើងនៅឆ្នាំ921នៃគ្រិស្តសករាជ
លក្ខណៈពិសេសផ្សេងមួយទៀតនៃរមណីយដ្ឋានកោះកេរ្តិ៍គឺការរៀបចំបច្ចេកទេសគ្រប់គ្រងទឹកដ៏ខ្វាត់ខ្វែងរួមនឹងការសាងសង់ហេដ្ឋារចនាសម្ព័ន្ធជាច្រើនដែលបង្កើតឲ្យមានអាងទឹកដ៏ពិសិដ្ឋនៅចំកណ្ដាលរាជធានីរហ័លបានសាងសង់ឡើងដោយនាំយកទឹកពិសិដ្ឋហូរចេញពីប្រាសាទនៅជុំវិញដែលត្រូវរួមបញ្ចូលប្រាសាទទាំងឡាយទៅជាទីកន្លែងដ៏ពិសិដ្ឋក្នុងសម័យសង្គ្រាមស៊ីវិលកម្ពុជាចន្លោះទសវត្សរ៍1970ដល់1990កោះកេរ្តិ៍បានរងនៅការជីកកោះកកាយលួចយកបេតិកភណ្ឌវប្បធម៌ហើយតំបន់នេះបានក្លាយជាតំបន់ដាច់ស្រយាលដែលប្រឈមខ្ពស់នឹងការលួចយកវត្ថុបុរាណទៅលក់នៅក្រៅប្រទេសគួបផ្សំនឹងការបំផ្លិចបំផ្លាញពីអាកាសធាតុនិងការរុករានពីរុក្ខជាតិផងបានធ្វើឲ្យប្រាសាទទាំងឡាយរងការខូចខាតនិងដួលរលំជាភ័ព្វសំណាងរមណីយដ្ឋានកោះកេរ្តិ៍ត្រូវបានសង្គ្រោះនឹងការពារដោយរាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលកម្ពុជាដែលមានអាជ្ញាធរជាតិព្រះវិហារកំពុងតែប្រឹងប្រែងក្នុងការអភិរក្សនូវគុណតម្លៃនិងរក្សាទ្រង់ទ្រាយដើមរបស់បូជនីយដ្ឋានប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រដ៏ល្បីល្បាញមួយនេះ
កិច្ចការប្រចាំថ្ងៃដែលកំពុងអនុវត្តនេះគឺការស្ដារឡើងវិញព្រៃឈើការអភិរក្សប្រាសាទដោយការទូលទ្រឬមួយអន្តរាគមន៍សង្គ្រោះបន្ទាន់ទីតាំងដែលមានហានិភ័យខ្ពស់ស្ថិតនៅក្នុងស្ថានភាពគ្រោះថ្នាក់អាចដួលរលំតែបន្ថែមនោះទៀតជាងក៏មានយន្តការនៃការស្រាវជ្រាវក្រោមកិច្ចសហប្រតិបត្តិការរវាងស្ថាប័នជាតិនិងអន្តរជាតិ
នាពេលថ្មីកន្លងមកនេះដោយមានការប្រឹងប្រែងពីរាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលកម្ពុជាសហការជាមួយសហគមន៍អន្តរជាតិនេះបានសង្គ្រោះនិងនាំយកបដិមាមួយចំនួនដែលបានលួចចេញពីកោះកេរ្តិ៍ត្រឡប់មកកាន់ប្រទេសកំណើតវិញទន្ទឹមនោះដែរយើងកំពុងប្រឹងប្រែងស្វែងរកវត្ថុបុរាណទាំងអស់ដែលស្ថិតក្នុងភាពអាចកំបាំងឲ្យត្រឡប់មកវិញបន្ថែមទៀត
ការស្វែងរកវត្ថុបុរាណមិនមែនជារឿងងាយទេចាគឺជាយន្តការមួយដ៏លំបាកប៉ុន្តែសំខាន់បំផុតដែលយើងត្រូវស្វែងរកឯកសារដែលពាក់ព័ន្ធហើយនឹងសហការជាមួយខាងក្រៅប្រទេសដើម្បីដល់ព័ត៌មានកាលណាមានព័ត៌មានយើងអាចធ្វើការចរចាពីមុនមកធ្លាប់មានការដឹងផ្ដល់អីទូចៗដែរមិនថាអត់សោះទេប៉ុន្តែនៅទីបំផុតកម្ពុជាតែបានជោគជ័យនៅក្នុងការទាមទារត្រឡប់មកវិញនៅវត្ថុបុរាណរបស់ខ្លួន
រមណីយដ្ឋានបុរាណវិទ្យាកោះកេរ្តិ៍បានក្លាយជារាជធានីនៃអាណាចក្រខ្មែរជាង2ទសវត្សរ៍បន្ទាប់មករាជធានីបានប្តូរទៅកាន់តំបន់អង្គរវិញទោះបីជារាជធានីត្រូវផ្លាស់ប្តូរក៏ដោយប៉ុន្តែប្រជាជននៅតែបន្តរស់នៅកោះកេរ្តិ៍រហូតដល់សព្វថ្ងៃកោះកេរ្តិ៍ជារមណីយដ្ឋានបេតិកភណ្ឌរស់ដែលគ្របដណ្ដប់ផ្ទៃដី 8789.43 ហិកតាមានផ្ទះចំនួន259ខ្នងនិងប្រជាពលរដ្ឋចំនួន816នាក់កំពុងរស់នៅក្នុងតំបន់ទ្រនាប់បច្ចុប្បន្នអ្នកស្រុកនៅតែចាត់ទុករមណីយដ្ឋានកោះកេរ្តិ៍ជាទីតាំងដ៏ពិសិដ្ឋ និងជាទីសក្ការៈបូជាជារៀងរាល់ឆ្នាំអ្នកភូមិនៅកោះកេរតែងតែប្រារព្ធពិធីបន់ស្រន់រំលឹកដល់ព្រលឹងនាងទុនសត្រានិងស្ដេចដំរីសនៅក្បែរភ្នូររបស់ព្រះអង្គការសាងសង់ប្រាសាទនឹងរហ័សនៅលើទីតាំងធម្មជាតិប្រកបដោយអានុភាពដ៏អស្ចារ្យនិងការបន្តប្រារព្ធពិធីសាសនាព្រមទាំងការធ្វើកសិកម្មរបស់អ្នកភូមិនៅកោះកេរនេះហើយគឺជាការបង្ហាញនូវគុណតម្លៃដ៏មានសក្តានុពលរបស់រមណីយដ្ឋានកោះកេររមណីយដ្ឋានកោះកេរនៅតែរក្សាទ្រង់ទ្រាយដើមដ៏ប្រសើរក្រៃលែងហើយកំពុងត្រូវបានការពារនិងអភិរក្សយ៉ាងល្អហើយយើងកំពុងប្រឹងប្រែងអភិរក្សរមណីយដ្ឋានដ៏ប្រណិតមួយនេះបន្តទៅទៀត
រមណីយដ្ឋានប្រាសាទកោះកេរមានឈ្មោះដើមថាលឹងបូរៈឬឈោកូគីគឺជាអតីតរាជធានីខ្មែរសម័យអង្គរនាសតវត្សទី10នៃគ្រិស្តសករាជជាសំណង់ស្ថាបត្យកម្មរាជធានីដ៏ពិសិដ្ឋមួយនៅលើដែនដីដើម្បីឧទ្ទិសថ្វាយព្រះឥសូរព្រះនរាយណ៍ព្រះព្រហ្មហើយក៏ជាមជ្ឈមណ្ឌលប្រមូលផ្ដុំនៅជំនឿសាសនាភាសាការគ្រប់គ្រងរដ្ឋសំណង់ស្ថាបត្យកម្មសិល្បៈនិងការរៀបចំប្រព័ន្ធធារាសាស្ត្រ